Meeting to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please silence or turn off your cell phones. The next regular meeting is scheduled for Friday, May 10th, 2019 at 9 a.m. at the Community Center, 3500 Edgewater Drive, Sebring, Florida, 33872. Consent agenda, minutes of the Board of Supervisors regular meeting held Friday, April 12th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion from the board? Any public comment? Chrissy?
Supervisor Stiegel?
Yes.
Supervisor Brooks?
Yes.
Supervisor Gilpin?
Yes.
Supervisor Hotelling?
Yes.
President Branson?
Yes. Action agenda. Resolution number 2019-04/26-16. A resolution to assign Lake of Sebring Improvement District to obtain road resurfacing services by piggybacking on an agreement between Excavation Point and the City of Sebring dated March 1st, 2019. We have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Any board discussion? Tanya?
Good morning, Supervisors.
Go ahead.
Staff is recommending 2.5 miles of roads to be paved as part of this program this year and finish the asphalt pavement at the maintenance facility. Again, what Mr. Branson said, the staff is recommending a piggyback on the City of Sebring's infrastructure, construction, and repair contract with Excavation Point. And Excavation Point will be honoring the same rates to us as they did to the City of Sebring. The total project cost is $287,790, which is under budget. The budget for this program was $350,000. Drew Jones is here to discuss the program, what we have in place, and any questions.
Good morning. I don't know if you have any specific questions about it, but we did do some revisions since we last talked to you, or since I last talked to you with Orduna. That's part of the reason the cost came in such a discrepancy under our budgeted amount. We were going to do a full rebuild on Orduna, but we had the contractor come out and help us look at it and assess the road and give it their recommendations on what to do for it to improve it. And instead of doing a full rebuild, we're proposing to do a leveling course to help smooth out all the bumps in the road, and then come in with a finished course overlay on that. So it'll build up the road more and give it a greater structural value in lieu of the full rebuild. That price also includes paving into about 15 to 20 feet into each one of the intersections. I don't know if you've been that way, but a lot of the turn-ins are getting tore up by the garbage trucks and other traffic. So we included that in the price this time.
There was some discussion a couple weeks ago about when we do those curves, if we could do something like we've done up at the corner of Ortega and Schumacher, where they're kind of reinforced because people miss those cuts and it just keeps tearing up the pavement.
You mean the rumble strips?
Yeah.
We didn't include that on this one, but we can ask them for a cost for adding that to these. That wouldn't be, I don't think that'd be a huge expense to add to it, if that's something we'd like to do. Go ahead.
I think that's the right thing to do.
Okay.
Agreed. I don't know if we need a formal motion or not, but I certainly think that makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Because they're just going to do it again if we don't.
Yeah, we can bring it back as a change order, and if it's more than 10,000, otherwise, with the board's consent, if it's under the 10, we can just tell them to do it.
That works. Good. I had another question for you.
Yes, sir.
We're spending $290 in essence instead of $350. There's $60,000 additional budget. Is there other work that needs to be done that's of a priority that we should look at?
We're looking at a few different things. I know we have some repair work that needs to be done in other areas. Most of that is in lesser traveled areas of the district, but it's still, people live on the roads. We've also, I don't know if we're still looking into it, but we were considering doing Orion, the road to the middle school. But we don't know if the contractor can complete that in this fiscal year. So we didn't know if, we're still discussing whether or not we want to try to push this budget, some of it into next year, or how we want to handle that. But I think the main priority is some of the repair work that we're looking at, and that I don't think that's going to eat up all of the budget, but we're still discussing that, I believe, on what the priority is. But
I mean, I'm guessing that we're going to be willing to give them we'll give you guys another $350,000 next year. So I wouldn't worry about next year's budget, but I agree with Dan that we should try and use this year's budget, even if we start the work in September and have to carry it over for a month or two. But I think we should spend every nickel that we have allocated.
okay.
And in particular, I think, I don't know exactly what the situation is, but right now they're piggybacking onto what they gave Sebring. If we come back to them with a bid next year, it may be more. Would that be reasonable to assume?
Sometimes it is. What they normally do, they'll have like a 3 or 5 year renewal, at least what they did with Avon Park. Sometimes they'll come in with revised prices, like if the cost of asphalt increases, they have to at least attempt that. But they've been pretty steady with Avon Park, but of course, like you said, we don't know what the cost of materials is going to do. So,
can you just explain to me the Orduna drainage work for $20,000?
Before we did any road work, there's a couple of culverts there's 2 of them have leaks, and another one that's settling pretty bad and also leaking. We're trying to get that repaired before they come in and pave. That way we don't have open cut in the new asphalt.
But why is this the proper account to be charging that to?
I think we were just rolling it into roads, but I don't know if it's going to end up coming out of drainage or not.
I mean, I would prefer to see it in the drainage and then use, like I said, the $350,000 road money for roads.
What was the estimate on the culverts? 20,000?
It was 20 or just over 20, around 20, yeah.
Yeah, we can bring back a budget amendment for that if we have to.
Okay.
But it was estimated at 20?
I believe so.
Okay.
It was 19-something, if I remember right. But
Yeah,
That sounds right.
19,800 is what it says.
I guess it all depends on how you want to count the beans, but I would like to see our roads improved as much as we can with what we have in the budget. I think that's what we're trying to say.
Okay.
And you have a priority list that you already put together.
Correct.
Correct?
Correct.
So I don't know if you plan on spending all of the money that we budgeted for drainage. Would putting 20,000 of this into that cause you a problem or not?
No. We actually put out 4 or 5 times over all these projects, and we're all on board. George, I, and Andrew are all on board of what we're doing. So, we feel satisfied that we're doing the right areas. So. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Any public comment?
Good morning, Bill Norcross, resident. I just spoke with Dale, I guess it is, about the problem that, and it's pretty obvious on Woods and Irons, where you have a breakdown of the edges of the street. Mike Hurley has been kind enough to fill in some of the potholes that have occurred, and my suggestion is these roads are only 21 feet wide. In areas where they're breaking down, if they could be widened by a foot and maybe a curbing, just so these people stay on the road. And it's It's, I don't think it's a major overhaul, but the areas that are really to the left and right, there are a lot of potholes. People don't have the ability to turn for some reason, and when they turn left or right, they cut across, create more potholes too. So anyhow, I appreciate the work and the money being spent on an annual basis of $350,000, and I agree with Ray that, pardon me, that the money should be carried over for other projects, and if they're not completed within the fiscal year. So some consideration on the widening of the road and maybe areas where there's a lot of potholes and breakdown curbing. Thank you.
Okay, Chrissy?
Supervisor Brooks?
Yes.
Supervisor Gilpin?
Yes.
Supervisor Hoteling?
Yes.
Supervisor Stiegel?
Yes.
President Branson?
Yes. Resolution number 2019-04/26-17, a resolution to Sun Lake Improvement District to award the Heartland Plaza water meter installation project to Dallin Real Estate Development Corporation for $13,500. Motion to approve.
Second.
Tanya?
Good morning. This project is for the Heartland Professional Plaza water meter replacement and relocation. Drew is here to speak of the details, but Polston Engineering has come up with a solution for this meter. It is currently, it's been underwater for quite some time and is no longer working appropriately, so they want to bring it out of the vault area and reconstruct the area where the meter is located. So, Drew, do you have any other comments on that one?
I can give you just a brief rundown of what's going on. I guess back in the 80s when Heartland Professional Plaza was designed and built, I'm assuming they put it underground just to keep it from being visible, but it's now common practice to bring them above ground. And the reason the meter's so big is because they have actually hydrants. I guess their own hydrants inside of the plaza that are running off of the meter and everything else. And the current standards require them to have a double check valve above ground. So if we're going to be doing any work to it, we've got to bring it up to current DEP standards. So that involves all the amount of work we're doing. That and the vault, of course, everywhere around here is high water table. So even when it's dry season, the vault has water in the bottom of it, and when the rainy season comes, the whole meter assembly gets submerged continually. So the maintenance staff wanted to see what we could do to correct that, and once we started digging into it, then we had to bring everything up out of it and replace all the damaged parts.
Tanya explained it to me yesterday, so
Okay.
I don't need an explanation.
Yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward. It needs to be done.
Okay.
Any public comment? Chrissy?
Supervisor Gilpin?
Yes.
Supervisor Hoteling?
Yes.
Supervisor Stiegel?
Yes.
Supervisor Brooks?
Yes.
President Branson?
Yes. Next item is a discussion of the policy manual updates.
Every year to about 18 months, I'd say, we review the policy manual for any proposed changes. I have a few proposed today. I can go page by page if you want me to review those with you, or if we have those highlighted for you. And also it gives you an opportunity to review the manual just in case you see anything else that is in need of change. Do you want me to review page by page?
Do you want to hear the details?
Yeah, there's only 4 changes, correct?
Yeah, there's only
Yeah, go ahead.
4. 5. Okay. The first one is on page 5, district calendar. The district follows the Highlands County Board of County Commissioners holiday calendar and not the 10th Judicial Circuit holiday schedule. So we're recommending a change to Highlands County. That was on page 5. Oops.
There's
Did
also
I
a
get
change
page
on
4?
page
I'm
4.
sorry.
Yeah, and that was one we voted on, so.
Yes, that was voted on at the last board meeting. So if a seat is vacated and it was elected by the qualified electors, the appointee will serve until the next ensuing general election instead of the full term.
Does that have to be approved by the county? Did I understand that correctly?
That's correct. I've already turned it in to the county attorney, so I will let the board know when that was on the Board of County Commissioners agenda.
Yeah, because that's not just a policy change, it's a change to the ordinance.
That's what I thought, so I don't know if we ought to be changing our policy until they approve
This is
it.
just a draft. I was kind of hoping that, yeah, well,
I get it.
it's a proposal.
But the way municipalities work, I don't know that it's going to happen in the next.
And it may
many
not.
days.
I'll have an update by the next meeting, yes, sir.
Okay. I just don't think we ought to put it in our policy
Sure.
until it's been approved.
Okay. Okay. Page 21. Budget amendments. Budget amendments less than $25,000 that are within the same fund and do not increase the fund balance reserve would require the approval of the general manager and finance director. All other budget amendments would be required to be approved by the board. And of course, if we had a budget amendment situation where Omar and I prepared one, I would update the board, for that change.
This is new. This one was added, correct? So what caused it to be added? Did something happen that you decided to put this in, or?
No, so every year we usually come back at the end of the fiscal year. Usually let's say the admin budget last year, we had to bring a budget amendment because hurricane expenses had gone too high. We usually get FEMA reimbursement or health insurance, so we can easily put in a revenue and expense without changing fund balance. But for each one of those budget amendments, I have to bring it back. So whether it's $5,000 or we had a stolen gator a couple months ago, it was $12,000. I had to come back with a budget amendment in order to buy that gator and put that in the budget. So these are just minor details. Sometimes, office expense or telephone will go over. So I can easily put those back in line and change those and make sure those are up to date as we go along versus them having to come back for a small amount of change orders. Budget amendments on those amounts. So just trying to get rid of some of the small minutia that really we're staying within the same fund. We're not changing the reserves amounts. So it's just really reallocating the budget internally. We're not changing. There's no real effect to it. So we figured it'd just reduce some of those budget amendments coming to the board, especially when they're for FEMA checks or insurance proceeds.
Makes sense.
I think it's a great idea, but if you can, I'd like it if you guys would inform us what you did.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sometimes we get caught and don't know what's going on, but I'm for it if you keep us informed.
Absolutely.
The only thing I might suggest on the wording there is it requires only the approval of the general manager. Insert only there, so that there's no confusion, as opposed to all other budget amendments require board approval.
I'm fine with that. Okay. Is that okay? All right, we can change that. All right, next page, 42. Probationary period for newly hired employees as defined in the employee handbook. We want to refer to the employee handbook. It's no longer 90 days. That's been changed over the last 5 years. It's 180. So what we want to do is take out the 90 days and just refer to the employee handbook on a probationary period. The second change on this page is another statement where we refer to the employee handbook on section 31, which provides further clarification for standards of conduct And so the code of ethics, that we do have a section in our employee handbook that also handles that. And page, what's that? Is that it?
That was it. What caused this code of ethics thing? Anything? Or you just thought it was time to update it?
I wanted to refer to the employee handbook on code of ethics, just like we did for the probationary period, because there is more detail. If you need a copy of that, I'd be glad to provide it to you, because our employee handbook does take care of a lot of those details. So I just wanted to make sure we do refer to that.
Any other questions?
Anything else?
Are we going to approve this today, or is this?
No, this is just a
for
discussion. Yes, sir.
I would really like a hard copy of this, the whole thing,
Oh, absolutely.
so that I can mark it up. I mean, there's a couple of things in here I thought ought to maybe get changed, but by the time I get through all of this stuff, it's hard to do online. And I didn't feel like printing out 50-something pages on my own.
And so if there's any other changes that you might want to recommend, you can bring those to me if you want to do that.
I will.
You will? Okay.
There was a couple of things in it I don't believe we're actually doing.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we
Yeah,
either need to
can-
put them in and do them, or take them out and don't do them. Either way.
Okay. Sounds good.
Any other board discussion? Public comment?
Good morning. Larry Bertetto. Bear with me about 2 seconds here. In looking this over, I saw a comment that no employee should have any financial gain, indirect or direct financial gain. They should engage in no activity that conflicts or raises a reasonable question of conflict above normal duties. What would happen if an employee would buy a lot or buy property, sell that to another employee, who that employee then sells it to someone else and a profit is made? Is that a direct or indirect fiscal problem? Could the general manager answer that question for me?
I'll have to get back to you, Mr. Potato. I can get back to you in writing.
In writing.
Yes, sir.
The next question, in doing some research, I found that a person, a board member, and or employee can have their name removed from the county rolls when they purchase property or own property. And I believe that presents a problem. Does that mean that Board of Supervisors and or employees can buy and sell property, make a profit, and not have it recorded? Could you get back to me with that then?
I'm sorry, what are you asking? Are you asking
I'm
if we
asking
can?
the fact that has anybody in the district bought or sold property, had made a profit? And the next thing is this, and the reason I bring this up,
Mr. Potato, that would be public record. I don't have any, what, are you asking if
it's not public record. I checked with the appraiser, and you are able to purge your name from any property in the district. Which means that could someone buy and sell property?
3 minutes.
Thank you. I guess this leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I can remember over the 19 years that I've lived here that a supervisor bought a piece of property, came before the board, explained that he bought a property and was going to build a duplex, and I see no problem with that. But I see a problem if someone can purge their name from the file of the property that they own, and they're sitting either on the board or an employee of the district. And I really have a problem with that. So when you get back to me in writing, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, in full disclosure, I'm the employee he's speaking about. So first of all, I own a home in the district. Second of all, I was authorized by the state of Florida to be confidential. Number one, in the position that I am, I have the right to be confidential. And number two, in the position that my husband is in, we both have the right to protect ourselves. And so, to clarify, I own a home in the district, and that is all I own. So I am the person that is confidential, yes. And I'll say that publicly. I mean, I don't have a problem with that, so.
I'm not sure I wouldn't like to have my name purged as well, because I might get a few more signs in my yard or a few less signs in my yard.
I think a short answer to the question would be that it would be on a case-by-case basis. In other words, if the employee or director was doing these things in order to deceive or create a conflict of interest, then that would be a problem. If they're doing it for reasonable steps, I don't think that's a problem. So I don't think there's a pat answer for that, but the question of whether or not they can be anonymous is a question bigger than the district.
Exactly. I mean, just on a side note, my only concern is I've heard this now for 3 meetings, people accusing people of something. So I would think the people who are doing the accusing, who are out there, should probably get more specific, because I don't know what's going on. I don't think it's me. I can't afford 2 properties. So I only have 1. But we've heard things now. There's been accusations for 3 meetings now out of the last 4, I think. Just doesn't, something must be up.
So in full disclosure, all I own is a home here. So I don't,
Who do I bring that to then?
Specific accusations, if it was me, I would send it to Tanya and probably to David and copy the rest of the supervisors. And go from there. Would that be, you agreement with that?
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Tanya, thank you for buying a home in Sun Lake.
Yeah.
You still pay your assessment, right?
yes, sir.
Any other public comment? Okay, next item for discussion, the bocce and shuffleboard project. Tanya?
Currently, the board has budgeted $235,000 for Racket Cub facility improvements. This consists of 10 shuffleboard courts with lighting and shade covers. We presented the project to the Recreation Parks and Advisory Committee, and we went to the committee with the 75% match, which was $171,805. Due to only $96,000 in remaining funds, I told the RPAC committee that I would come back to them with a revised project. Management We are recommending to downsize the project, and again, we already have a commitment for next year in the 5-year capital plan for the Phase 2 part of that. So what we're recommending is a Phase 1 with 6 shuffleboard courts to keep the project costs at $114,705. Also, the RPAC committee has asked all the municipalities and special districts to come back to them with a proposed list of recreation projects for the future, so the commissioners will know how much to actually fund the committee with. The committee, this is the first year that the committee has not been funded any monies from Highlands County. So that's the reason for where they are today. Highlands County used their funding to actually balance their budget. So also, I have an attachment for 8 bocce courts. I'm sorry, not bocce, sorry, shuffleboard. And this proposal includes 8 shuffleboard lighting, shade covers, and the dollar amount for that. $189,413 with the 5% contingency.
Give me that again. I got lost
Yes,
somewhere. We were talking.
So we have.
We were talking 114.
114 was with 6 shuffleboard courts and no lighting as a Phase 1. The Phase 2, what we were going to do is light the entire area along with the bocce and provide shade covers on a Phase 2, just to keep the costs at a reasonable number. So the original project was 10 shuffleboard.
Right.
For $235,000. There's some options here. We have some cost numbers for 6. We have cost numbers for 8. If we do 8 shuffleboard courts, I don't know that the 2 bocce would be able to fit right next to it on the west side. Is that correct? We might have to. Yeah, if the board likes the idea of 8 courts, we might make a few revisions to the drawings there.
Okay, so you're talking about 6 courts for 114,
Yes, sir.
and that includes no lighting and no shade.
Correct.
And we went from 25% in for us to 50%.
Yes, I feel like we have a better opportunity with RPAC to receive a 50-50 or a 50% match.
Okay, so I understand the numbers
So-
now. I have another question, and that is, we did a needs analysis, if you will. Do we get that much response that we need that many shuffleboard courts? I don't know. I haven't yet. I have no idea. I never played shuffleboard in my life.
I don't have a needs analysis. What we did do is the petition. We don't have any basis to say, we have to have 8 or we have to have 10 or we have to have 6. Really, the only comparison we have is with, we have Tanglewood, we have City of Sebring, and then City of Avon Park Recreation to compare with. Tanglewood has 8. City of Sebring has a lot. I don't know right off the top of my head. Some of them are covered and some are not. So
I guess the question is, do you have any kind of usage numbers? I mean,
yeah,
are these things
really
getting used
don't.
or not?
We don't. So it'd be hard for me to say we have to have 6 or we have to have 8. We hope to with the new shuffleboard courts, we hope that we can establish groups here and group play, and then also play against other communities as well. But we just don't know, as we don't have a basis for how many we actually do need.
So could you do 6 now and 4 later? Or,
If the need was there, absolutely, we could.
Okay. I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out.
But the cost per court would be significantly higher in staging it that way.
In doing it
To
yeah,
do 6 and 4 would be much more expensive than doing 10 at one time.
correct. Yes.
I guess I'm the one that was really pushing this from the beginning, I guess. So It's disappointing about the RPAC thing. We got, the number of petition, on the petition was 180, but I'm sure a lot of those people signed it because I asked them to sign it, and really don't care about, to be honest with you, they don't care whether they play shuffleboard or not. But there is an interest in doing shuffleboard. It is an amenity, and it is something that we would be able to offer people in Sun Lake that's non-golfing. That's why I'm supporting it. I don't play shuffleboard. I probably won't. But I think there are people in Sun Lake who would participate if it was available to them. As far as the number of courts, I think I was the one that came up with 10 originally based on what we saw at Tanglewood. If you told me we got to cut it back and I have to live with 8, I think 8's fine. I think 6 is too small, my personal opinion. But I think to have 8, that's a good working number. If we do it, I think we have to do it the right way. The $114,000 proposal doesn't call for lights, and it doesn't call for the, what do you call it, the overhang? The shade structure, which if you ever seen shuffleboard played, half the people are sitting down on a bench waiting their turn to go, and they're sitting out in the sun. So I think having a shade structure really is kind of important to have. So I would rather see us do 8 correctly. And if we can't do 8 correctly, I just don't think we should do it. I mean, I hate to do something and go back and say, we did it not to the best of our ability.
I agree with that.
So is it a gamble on how many people are going to use it? Absolutely. But so was probably pickleball when we first put those courts in. That turned out pretty good. I would then say, if we said, okay, let's do the shuffleboard, and somebody said, you know what, that's a lot of money for this year, let's hold on the bocce for 2 years, I got no problem with that. If you want to push bocce 2 years down the road to see if the shuffleboard works, and then have a conversation on that, that makes sense to me. The third part of this equation originally was an extension of pickleball courts. And if you told me, because of monies, we got to drop that altogether, fine, let's drop it altogether. Because we have pickleball courts, and they're pretty good. So I think we can maneuver the numbers, but I think I would just like to challenge the board that if we do it, if we agree to do it, that we should do it the right way.
Your definition of right way,
Yeah.
8 courts, lighted,
Well,
with shade.
What's your right way, right?
My right way
I'm not
is to reduce
disagreeing
it to
with
8 courts, but do the 8 courts right. Don't wait a year to do shade or to put lights up or something like that. Do the 8 courts and do it.
Okay, so what are we talking about cost-wise?
Well, that would come out to $189,400.
That'll get you 8 courts, shaded and lighted.
And yeah,
Fencing.
because there's also
Fencing.
a cost in here for
It gives
The
you
work.
everything.
Right.
Benches.
clearing and grading and
Yeah. So,
Is that correct? It gets you 8 courts correctly done. These are correctly done by my standards, because it's only my standards. I'll agree with that.
so that's the 189 number.
That's the 189 number, yes.
And you think you can get 57 from RPAC?
I was going to go to RPAC for 50%. If the board agrees with the 189, then the commitment from the board would be 90,000 if I can get a 50% match, which is 90,000 from RPAC.
But didn't you say RPAC only had like 70?
They have 96,000.
Now, Tanya and I spoke about this the other day. There is also a third financial option
Yes.
that we could entertain, and that would be, yes, the cost is $189,400, but we asked RPAC for half the money this year, which would be
90,000. Well, if we
well,
just
45,000 or 46, and then 45 or 46 out of their next budget, which is effective October. If that makes it easier for them to get us our 90, which is what we're looking for anyway. So that's an option that we have to go to them if you guys wanted to, and ask for the financing that way.
Well,
Their
we've gone away from
assistance.
us putting in 25% and then putting in 75 to a 50-50 deal.
Yeah.
No matter which way we go.
I'm sorry?
We've gone from a 75-25 to 50-50.
Yeah.
Either way.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a brother-in-law that just comes down for 6 months, and they play shuffleboard twice a week, and they go to downtown Sebring to play. So, and I've heard comments that I think it's worth trying, because there are a lot of people that don't play golf. So,
Yeah.
I'm in full support. I just don't want, this is a board decision, and, you know, okay?
But I agree, if we're going to do it, we need to do it right, and I think 8's probably a better number than 6. So I would say bring us that proposal. That's my thought.
I would agree with that.
And the only question I would have, because I prefer bocce to shuffleboard, is there bocce anywhere in the area that I'm not familiar with? Tanglewood has bocce.
It's actually not
Tanglewood.
bocce. What's petang? There's petang.
Petang?
You know,
I don't know petang.
petang is a smaller ball.
Petang.
And that's what we were going to actually build. It's not, bocce, I guess, is a little bit bigger court.
Is a bigger court. I
Bigger
think
court and a bigger ball. But
Drew has become the expert.
You have to roll it. Petang you have to throw to this, and bocce you roll.
Tanglewood had petang.
It's got a hole in it.
Just real quick, the sides, the different size dimensions.
I can attempt to explain what I've read. The Petanka course is what's going on over at Tanglewood, and they can range in size, from what I understand, bigger, smaller from what they have. Bocce, I'm not an expert, but I've seen courses that are like twice the size of the ones that we have shown for the bocce, and of course I've seen them like 3/4 of the way between the two. So I know it looks like there's standards, but it looks like there's multiple. So I would say we'd probably want to stick with what people want to play around here, but I haven't seen any like full-size bocce anywhere in town. But I don't go to all the smaller like RV parks and stuff, so I don't know if they exist. But since you say you play, we might get some input from you if you.
I came from an Italian community where bocce was very popular.
Okay, so we might use that to determine how big we end up building them.
If we go with the shuffleboard, I'll be more than happy to turn the balance over to my friend here.
Hey, it'll help if we have knowledge. That'll help the whole cause. So.
So May 16th is the RPAC meeting, so I will present to them a proposal for 8 shuffleboard, lighting, fencing, shade.
Right, the 189. And then do we want to take for the budget meeting next month, you want to take the bocce and make it 2 years out instead of 1 year out, and kill that additional pickleball, just so he takes it out now and gets it over with?
I don't know why we wouldn't do it in next year's budget if we're going to do it. The sooner we get it done, the better.
Oh, okay.
Neil needs to be able to...
You want to take the pickleball out, though? Take that out? Because that was 3 years down the road. An extension of pickleball?
We can flip them. If we need additional pickleball courts? I mean, we're talking about stuff I have no idea. I don't play
Originally,
pickleball.
I don't know anything about what you're talking about.
the pickleball thing that I was talking about was, I originally put 2021. But that was if we needed it. I mean, if play continues, I thought we should have some money available if we wanted to expand it. Will we want to? I have no clue. That was a guess.
That's part of the long-term capital plan that was flipped out.
Which we could change.
Yeah, which we can change. I would say if we're serious about doing bocce ball, we ought to put it in the budget for next year, and let's...
All right, so just leave it where it is. That's fine.
That's what I'm saying.
And then I'll present that to RPAC, because RPAC has asked us to come back with future projects so they get an idea of what the funding amount is.
And you have an estimated cost on
yes,
that
sir.
already?
I have $90,000 for the phase 2. Yeah.
Okay.
Any public comment? Okay. Any add-on items?
None.
Petitions and communications?
None.
Staff reports?
Yes.
So I'll go first. Omar DeJesus, Finance Director. I gave you guys each a handout, which is just a 6-month comparison. So what I've done is I've taken March 2018's numbers and compared them to our March 2019 numbers. I approved the Treasurer's Report this morning, so it will be on the website if you want to look at the March financials. So we'll look at the right side of the gray area. First thing I want to point out is the assessments. So this year, as of March, we've collected just a little bit over $2.8 million. Last year, we were at $3 million. So we're about $198,000 short of last year's actual figures, which 180 of that we did project with going through the assessment methodology review and that, we did project a decrease in assessment revenues collected. Overall revenues, we are almost break even. It's only a $4,000 increase this year and compared to last year's March number. So overall, it looks like the FEMA reimbursement of $185,000 has offset that assessment decrease. So we're about the same year over year. Expenses, looks like we're trending lower in expenses this year by $195,000. Big factor in that is the $215,000 that's included in the administration budget for March 2018. So administration last year had $448,000. This year it's at $253,000. The difference is we had FEMA expenses. This year we did not. So overall, in the other departments, there's no big fluctuations, no big changes. Operations have been pretty consistent and steady. At the bottom, you'll see our net change in fund balance as of this year. We're up in the positive $1,700,000. Last year we were at $1.3 million. The biggest factor there was we transferred $500,000 to finish off the maintenance building last year. So overall, without the exception of major projects in FEMA, everything's been pretty consistent, relatively about the same. On assessments, we do have some larger commercial entities that we still are expecting to collect, so that number I expect it to go down, but there will be a small decrease year over year. Switching over to the utility fund side, revenues, total revenues are $16,000 higher this year. Water revenue has been consistent, sewer has been pretty consistent. The biggest impact that we've seen has been our investment earnings, and then we are starting to receive more impact and connection fees that have made a little bit of a difference there. Expenditures, we are $273,000 higher this year in expenditures. And that's a big factor due to the water plant project that we've begun this year that we carried over. So it was a $200,000 project that we transferred over. So that's basically the difference. Overall, last year you can see that we transferred $514 for that project to the general fund. So this year we're at a net income as of March of $269,000. Any questions?
Good morning. I just want to give you the updates on the projects that we worked on, the maintenance, the maintenance and the water. We remodeled the bathroom at the district office, and we brought it all up to the ADA standards. I don't know if anybody's been in there yet. We've done a lot of work there. And all the work that we've been doing, anything that we can do legally, we have done in-house. We also been working, well, of course, we installed some speed bumps. We've also been working on a lot of the sidewalks and stuff through the district that are cracked or broken, so we'll go in there, we'll cut them out and repairing. That's all being done in-house. In the past it wasn't, it is now. Georgia's guys have really stepped up on projects like that. We've been cleaning drainage, quite a bit of drainage out area on our own. That we haven't done in the past. We also been using that new lawnmower, the remote control lawnmower on the swales, and it's really worked out really well. So I want to thank you guys for giving me that lawnmower. I know I got kind of beat up a little on it, but it does work. We're also been working on some stuff at the kitchen to prepare for the work they're doing over there. So if anybody wants to take a tour over there, I'll take them over there. I've been working with Cliff, and it's been working out. Now this morning I did have somebody walk through our wet concrete. I don't know who it was, but I'm going to be taking shoes off of someone in this crowd that walked right through the concrete. After we fix it. So, but any questions about any of the projects we were working on? The drainage. Tal, he's done 3 areas already. He's on time. And the drainage that he has done is very good work that he's done, and we check it daily, and we meet with him also. So if we're also going to be doing some drainage and on some other areas that weren't on there, but it'll be in-house. So if anybody has any questions about that, just I'll take them out there. But the drainage, the drainage behind Hornicks, he did a great job, and it's so that's where we are.
He did. It looked great until they decided to start driving trucks in it.
I noticed that this morning, and I actually pulled over and let his electricians that are working on the building, told them don't park there. So, and I'll meet with Ray after and let him know too. Anything that they damage, they'll fix. So.
Hey, Mike, you know how you guys cleared out that area behind Hornick's houses?
Yes.
And now it's getting kind of messy again? Are you guys planning?
We are gonna, yeah. We'll be keeping that clean. Anything in the district, we've been keeping clean. Well, we've been trying to catch up to clean, but yeah, we will be doing that. So, any questions?
Good morning. Just one quick update with regard to the Easter Festival that we had last week. It was very well attended. We got a lot of positive feedback from the event. We had a lot of kids do some walk-up registrations, so the Easter egg hunt itself went very well, ran very smoothly. We had 4 different age groups and kind of queued them off all at different times. Haven't gotten final attendance numbers back yet, but it was very well attended. Ended around 8 o'clock. The food truck vendors, everybody that attended was very happy, so lots of good feedback from that event.
Mariel, before you give that up, do you have an update on what's going on with marketing and
with like WDM? Yes. So we are currently working on the phase 2, as we had talked about before. It takes about 30 days for them to put together that particular plan that's going to come back with some of the marketing materials. So they have everything they need from us. They know that if they have any questions that they are to reach out to me. I have not heard back from them, so I know that they're just diligently working on that package that they're going to get for us.
Okay, how about social media? Are you doing anything independently of them, or?
Yes, Marie and I both. We have different days that we've assigned to do social media posts with regards to events happening in the district or different pieces for recreation. Just different events that we've scheduled to do pretty much on a daily basis, just to keep Sun and Lake in everyone's news feed and in front of people.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning. End of March, and March financials are done, so I'll kind of talk about March and the end of quarter 2 and kind of blend them both together, I guess. Really, at the March was a pretty good month. We're really up over about $20,000 to budget, so which added to our lead. Right now, at the end of the very first half of the year, we're $99,000 above budget, so really quite good, and about $80,000 above last year. So better than budget and better than above last year. Most of the savings are a lot in, a bunch of little things, but mostly it's in Earl's department. We've had, and a lot of that has to do with timing issues, where putting down fertilizer and doing some extra work. Those savings, a lot of those savings are going to hit the bottom line, but $35,000 of them are not. So it looks a little bit better than what it is, just because of timing. We're going to spend some of that money here, kind of right away here in May, as we start ramping up for summertime. As the season is gone, the first half of the year, member play is quite a bit up. Member play is up about 650 rounds. Public play is down a little bit. Public play is down about 400 rounds. But overall revenues are pretty much about even in golf. Food and beverage, a la carte is a little bit flat. The banquets are about 5% up, so they've kind of helped us. The only thing we're really struggling with in food and beverage is, two things really. Labor's been tougher this year for some reason, and I think a lot of it has to do with kind of more members coming in, and we tend to overstaff to serve the members a little bit better. Labor's something we need to work on, and really the converting food and beverage revenue from the public golfers, that seems to be down compared to previous years. We're just not really doing as well as we can from public offers coming back in and visiting the restaurant. But really, other than that, it's all pretty good. The April numbers were up. We're trending about $10,000 above last year right now already, so to add to that lead a little bit more. Most of those monies are actually in merchandise sales from Andy. When I first got here, I really felt like the merchandise levels weren't near high enough for the amount of volume and the type of membership we have, so we've actually raised the level of inventories a little bit, and it's helped overall merchandise sales dramatically. So we're up, and we're up. Food and beverage is up a little bit this month. Golf is just kind of a hair down, but overall we're trending about $10,000 above from last year. Membership, and Ray says we've had a little bit more members who have, and especially the 3-month and 5-month, who have had more health issues. It seemed like we've had kind of 1 year where we've had a few more health issues than we really have hoped. We're about 18, I can't remember exactly, 16 or 18 memberships down in just those two categories. So we're going to be down about $35,000 or $40,000 on that membership line to budget. We're going to be up from last year, but we're going to be down to budget. I have a feeling that's going to kind of rebound back a little bit as those people kind of make their way back. We hope.
We're not getting any younger, you know.
No, and that's really kind of evident in some of the numbers too. Okay, questions?
Yeah, Cliff, I looked at I play on a Saturday group, and I noticed tomorrow we're starting at 1:30 again. Last week it was closer to 2, and it was 1:30, which is, we've talked about it. Is this something have we changed our procedures at all on 8 o'clock shotguns versus 8:30, or is this something I should bring up at the next meeting? Because I certainly want to start all shotguns at 8 o'clock. Whether it's a Saturday, whether it's a Friday, because it affects the groups. Have you guys changed that? And
No.
This is already scheduled, or
No,
are you
they've
just
kind
trying
of
to?
always been that way. I mean,
Well, I know what they always
it's been
have.
that way, but there's some reasons for that. I mean,
Okay, well, do we discuss that? I mean, because I'm going to be a big advocate of starting these things at 8 o'clock. I mean, it's just ridiculous what's happening.
and we can sure try, but I'm just saying it's a tough order.
Yeah, well,
Because when you come to a golf tournament and you come to a member event, you know where the bathrooms are, you know where you check in. You're already got your clubs loaded up on your cart. For an outside person coming in, they don't know where to check in. They have to buy mulligans. They think they want coffee in the morning. They have to get their clubs and put them on the cart and find their cart. And it's 8 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. We even when we're scheduling 8 o'clock events, we're getting out at 8:15 or 8:20, just doing our best to try and get people.
Well, I would suggest you don't.
I'm
You go out at 8 o'clock, whether somebody there, and that way it changes the. But there's no reason to keep doing this. None. I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I guess we'll have to bring it up next meeting is what I wanted to do, because I thought maybe you had changed it.
No.
Okay.
But I've also had these things scheduled for a year with an 8:30 contract.
Right, and that's what I'm asking.
Okay. I mean, again,
I don't want it to go next year.
Not to beat the dead horse. I will do it. Tell me if you want me to schedule them at 8 o'clock. I will schedule them at 8 o'clock. I'm just saying that's a tough one.
Well, you answered my question. I'll bring it up.
It's just a tough one.
Next meeting. Okay.
Is that a competitive issue? I mean, all the ones I played in that weren't here all started at 8 o'clock, and we managed to find our way around and get where we got to go. I'm not sure. I don't want to put you at a competitive disadvantage necessarily, but I would say this to you. If you look at the revenue that the members generate, it's basically half of your golf.
Oh, yeah.
300
It's probably,
members.
it's probably more than that, yeah.
Yeah, and then if you look at the revenue that they generate in the restaurant, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I spend an easy $2,000, $3,000 a year. All right, so if you multiply that times 300, just take the lower number, that's 600 grand. That's half of your revenue in your restaurant. So if you screw around with the members, you're talking about we're bankrupt. And if we keep doing this, sooner or
I'm
later,
happy to move it to 8 o'clock. Again, it's been 8:30 for a while, and I just haven't tackled changing it.
I get it, but I'm not through with my point.
Okay.
Every Saturday, you are, watch my language here, you are aggravating 150 people, which is 75 couples, if you will. I mean, we just can't keep doing this. Sooner or later, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. I can't go anywhere without getting talked to.
I'm sorry.
And I can tell you, personally, I'm sitting at 7 Restaurant last Sunday because I didn't want to come to ours because I didn't want to hear it. I got it anyway. I'm really getting tired of it. Can you tell I'm frustrated? I am frustrated.
I got it. We'll go to 8 o'clock. When I redo the contracts, I can do it. Let's, again, just...
Well, it's beyond that. We also... It's beyond that. It's those people come in and want to have dinner. Well, they can't because you're going to take over an hour to serve them. I mean, we got to figure this out somehow. And I don't know the answer. I just know we got a problem, and I'm tired of hearing it. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but
I'll just bring it up next meeting, because that was my only question. I didn't know if you had changed.
Well, I really hope we decide this on the budget, on May 10th, on the budget first workshop discussion. I really need, I'm booking things right now. I mean, I'm booking things past the point where we have the restaurant finished and everything's done. I need to know what to do Saturday nights. I need to know what to do Saturday mornings. I need that direction. So we need to decide that on the 10th and not push it back. We need to decide.
Thank you.
I'm good with that.
So in a couple of weeks, we're going to actually, let me see if I'm getting this right. We're going to talk amongst the board members, and we're going to give Casper direction on what we want him to do.
So you're bringing...
Is that what we're saying?
Data to us, right? You're bringing numbers to us.
Tons.
Okay. He's bringing numbers to us.
I'm sorry?
He's bringing information for us to review based on, right.
I know, but can we get a commitment out of the board that we're going to talk about this and actually give them direction? No? Maybe?
Yes, I think that's the plan.
I thought I just did.
Huh?
I thought I just did.
Well, that's one. That's one. I'd like to have everybody...
What we discussed was he's going to bring back the preliminary budget numbers so that we can then say, okay, this is what we really want to see happen, and we can talk about how that's going to impact the budget.
My frustration is I hear, well, there's only 300 members. Well, those 300 members are paying half the bills or more around here. And it's not just in the golf course, it's also in the restaurant. And if we continue to mess with them and they decide to leave here and quit coming on Saturday nights, we're done.
I understand that. My point is we're asking them to tell us instead of us telling them.
No,
all
we're asking them to bring us an operational plan with numbers behind it, and then we will tell them.
I've been on the board longer than you have. I'm telling you. We're asking them to tell us, and Cliff is asking for us to tell him.
And
I just like to try and do that.
I agree.
I don't know what numbers would have to do with it, though.
Well,
Because if you were a member here, which I know you're not a golfer, you would more understand it than sitting and looking at numbers. So, it's just very frustrating.
Well, I hear you, but numbers are important too, and it's a balancing act, and we just need to be sure what the impact. Okay.
Well, I think there was one important point made when Dan was talking, and that is my experience with all of our competition in this area is 8 o'clock shotguns are what happens at outings everywhere but here. I have never gone to an outing anywhere else that started at 8:30. Period.
I think you got pretty clear direction that we want to see 8 o'clock shotguns.
We're going to do that next meeting. Thank you.
In a minute, Bill.
We'll get comment at the end.
Okay, not a lot for me. The DFC foreclosure, we got service on Deutsche Bank, the German bank. We are still waiting on service on the other 2 banks, but we expect to have that back by the end of the month. I sent an email to Chris Lyon at Lewis Long and Walker regarding the Tanglewood contract and the Fifth Third $10 million bond issue. If I don't have a responsive email from him when I get back to my office, I'm going to give him a call today and hopefully have a talk with him about costs for potential opinion letters on those 2 issues.
Who was that? I'm sorry.
Lewis Longman and Walker. They're the ones that the district used back on. What was it?
Fifth Third.
Yeah, previously on Fifth Third issues.
Have they done work with us before?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is their specialty?
Yeah, to an extent, yeah. Mr. Lewis is I guess a friend of Mr. McClure's and has extensive knowledge about special districts.
Anything else?
That's it for me.
General Manager's report.
We have received communication from the county yesterday afternoon regarding the Unit 16 zoning. So David and I need to review that email and discuss the points that were presented. We haven't had a chance to do that yet, but we will. So that was from the county attorney, and she's also reviewed our information with the zoning department. So we have, a page full of information to take a look at, and I'll let you know what the status of that is. We also received a check from the Comcast insurance company in the amount of $24,348, and that was for the water line break at the corner of Ponce and Sun Lake Boulevard. So we've taken care of that situation. We have received a letter. Well, from Heartland Food Bank, and this is thanking the district for 49 pounds of assorted groceries and canned goods that we donated, and that was on behalf of our district residents and businesses. So they were very thankful, 49 pounds. So thank you, Chrissy, thank you, Ariel, for coordinating that for the district. One last thing. I reached out to the sheriff's office about traffic and patrolling the areas within the district, and they have reached out back to me with a quote of $45 per hour, and the person that would be on patrol would work for the district just as they do work for other communities here inside Highlands County. So if this is something the board would like to discuss, I think it would be a positive for the community to have more traffic enforcement here.
I'd like to, I don't know if you need a motion, but I'd like to do something like that and have you prepare it. I don't know about the rest of them, but we need to do something.
I totally agree. Of course, you have to be prepared for the heat you're going to get when people start getting tickets. But I think we have to live with that. I don't think there's any other solution other than traffic enforcement, and that's not up to us. But I hate Ron Hanley's not here, but I kind of hate that we pay all this money to the county and we don't get traffic enforcement. Maybe the next time the sheriff's running, we can have him come and address why we can't seem to get that done without paying for it. But in the interim, I don't think we have any other choice, and I don't even really care if we wait till the next meeting. If you want to do that under your $10,000 for 1 month and then bring it to us for so much a month, I'm good with that.
I know we've had some extensive discussions, Tanya and I and Mike in the Sheriff's Department. The amount of hours we buy is at our discretion, essentially. So if we want to try 20 hours a month and pick the hours on the streets and measure the impact of that, it's an option. We may say we want to do 20 hours every month. We may want more, we may want less, but again, it's going to be more effective than anything else we can do. And the heat that comes with it is, to me, I mean, if somebody's getting caught doing something wrong, that's really not my problem.
I agree.
So,
is it appropriate to make a motion to that effect, or do you want to wait?
Just a consensus, and I can bring back the actual agreement. So if the board likes the idea of 20 hours a month, that's $900 for the month. I mean, that's something that we can continue until they want to change it.
what is 20 hours a month we're talking about?
Whatever number we want.
Whatever number we want?
Yeah.
Because they offered only 3 hours a day for 12 days a month. That was their offer.
That's what somebody
That's the
else
golf
does.
hammock.
That's what golf hammock.
That's what golf hammock.
That's
Sheriff
what golf
Department, right?
hammocks does. That's their agreement with golf hammock. That was just for example. We can do what we want.
I think one of the questions would be is, can we specify when we want them to patrol? Because I understand from our discussions that there are some issues with racing late at night, so having them around for that would be helpful.
Absolutely.
When and where are at our discretion. We can pick the streets, we can pick the times.
Okay. Well, I certainly agree that the right thing to do is to move forward with this. And I think we might also look at being proactive and sending out a letter to all of the residents saying, we're having a problem with speeding and traffic control. We're looking for solutions other than speed bumps everywhere. We're asking everybody to obey the speed limits, and we will be increasing patrols, and there will be tickets.
I think that's good.
So at this point, the board does not want to entertain speed bumps. Is that what you guys are saying?
No, I don't think that's necessarily the case, not with me at least. I think speed tables are fine, and if we could find something more cost effective that functions the same way, I'd be in favor of that. But we can't just fill every street with speed bumps either.
I understand that. We've only had 2 requests. And one, I think we all got this letter from a Mr. Mogul, who I don't know who the gentleman is. Oh, there he is. He's there. But this, to me, is pretty incriminating that there's a speeding problem. If these guys go to this kind of an attempt to prove that there's a problem, and they have signatures saying that we got a problem, why don't we do both?
So we put a cop out there, and we specifically asked the police to patrol that street. If you put one on,
I don't know what the resistance is to speed bumps. I'm having a problem with this.
Okay, you've got one stretch of road in a large complex of roads. We've got one stretch being recommended for 2 speed bumps, and if you keep putting 2 speed bumps on every little stretch of road, we're going to have speed bumps everywhere. The county won't put speed bumps anywhere, so I'm not sure what our advocacy for speed bumps is. I think we need to find, well, I think there are other ways to slow them down, and we need to work on that rather than, well, one of them is increasing patrols.
Well, we don't have any patrol, so I agree. Increasing patrol right now is better than what we have at this point. So all I'm saying is I think it should be a combination. That's all. We're not going to be able to afford to have a cop be everywhere where he needs to be, or a police officer to be everywhere he needs to be. I think we have to choose wisely, but I think that to turn and say speed bumps or no, because we can put a police officer there, I just don't think it works.
I don't think we ever said speed bumps are a no. I think we said that we weren't putting any more in until we had the traffic survey that would tell us, here's where you got your problems, here's where you need 3-way stops, 4-way stops, here's what you need your speed limits to be.
We've been talking about this since January, and we haven't gotten anywhere yet.
You've talked to somebody about it, right?
Yes. I've presented all the information on the roads that I would like evaluated first, and I'm waiting on a quote. I actually reached out to 4 different companies, and I've only had one committed for a quote so far. So it has not been an easy process.
Well, how do you want to respond to Mr. Mogul since he's here?
We're going to put a policeman on Cortez.
Okay?
Cortez is one of the streets that I think we would look at very closely with the sheriff's department.
You want him to talk?
Yeah, if you have something you want to.
We're not adverse to having police patrol. In fact, that's the primary concern we'd like to see the outcome result in. I did a look at the Florida statutes of the legal laws of traffic control this morning. It's Chapter 316 of the state laws. Enforcement. Right away it says every county in the state of Florida shall enforce the laws. Not may, will, could be, possibly, shall. You don't get out of that. That's the county. That's under the sheriff's responsibilities. Under the municipality, all the cities in the state have the same requirement. Shall. No ifs, ands, or buts. As a result of continuing through the laws, I found a section where the Sheriff's Department of Police and the counties can employ an infraction enforcement officer, which is not a gun-carrying officer, but an individual who successfully completes instructions in traffic enforcement procedures and court presentation through a program that the state provides. This person can enforce any infraction observed in case of traffic infraction or parking infractions, which we have a lot of parking infractions going on around here that we don't even enforce our own selves. We try to, but they're in the yards or in the greenways or in the roads. But this one section, I think we need to look at close of getting this guy trained. I don't know if our security, I thought looked at it one other time, but I don't know when that was. It was before my time. And that have somebody in our own facility here patrolling. The heck with paying them for it. I mean, our taxes should be covering all this, what they're saying in here right now, shall. But somebody legal from this standpoint for us needs to look into this, not just paying them. I don't mind paying them. We pay thousands of dollars for other things, and we're probably going to end up paying millions of dollars if there's an accident that's incurred because of lack of negligence on our part by not having this going to and trying to get it done. And we need to expedite it before something happens. We have children walking along Cortez there every day, no sidewalks, 60, 70 mile an hour cars passing by them during bus time. The other night, the racing, I called in the racing. 5 vehicles, 4 cars, 3 of them cars, one of them a truck, and a motorcycle, trying to pass each other on Cortez on the street where we're at. Then turning out toward the preserve and racing. You can hear them racing all the way out Granada. That's not satisfactory in this community. There's bicycles. I ride at night sometimes with my lights out there. That's not safe. That's not safe at all to do. I quit doing that. So I'm glad that you guys are looking into it and taking a vested interest in us. Thank you.
Sir, may I have your name, please, for the record?
Robert Mogul,
Thank you.
resident.
Joe, can I speak on this, please?
Go ahead.
I think really right now for the best thing for us to do is to hire a sheriff 20 hours a month, put him on traffic, okay? But also the speed bumps, all right? There are speed bumps and speed humps, all right? A couple of you guys have asked me to get prices on something that they could go over at a 20-mile-an-hour speed. I have that. We've been researching all this. We have that also. But I've been here for 8 years, and this has been going on for 8 years. right? 8 years we've been hearing about the speed. The speed bumps, the speed humps absolutely help, but security cannot give tickets for speeding. And this gentleman's right. I got the call the other night when they were speeding, right? There were 4 or 5 cars speeding up, right? The only way that we're going to stop it is hire the sheriff's department, right? Give them 20 hours. We'll give them the areas that we feel that we have to put them in, and let's start there. We have to get, I mean, it's just crazy. You can be out here during the day on the street right in front of here, and they go flying by you. We were at the dog park the other day, Tanya and I. Guy went 40 miles an hour right by us, and there were vehicles parked there. You know, I think our best way to start is hire somebody 20 hours a month and start that way.
And I think that's exactly where we intend to go.
Right.
So,
thank you, Joe.
I'll make another comment, and that is calling security about speeding is, well, I won't try to make a decision.
It's pointless.
You should call the cops.
Right.
That's
It's pointless.
the only ones
right.
that can do anything about it.
Well,
So if you call security, then he's got to talk to you,
Right.
then he's got to call the police, and they're gone.
And not only that, we can't get there quick enough anyways, because if they're speeding, they're going. They're gone. So, I mean, no. But other communities do have a sheriff, right? And it works.
and we intend to try to identify the problem areas. And
Right.
if they're going to be here 4 hours, we can tell them spend the hour of 5 to 6 o'clock on Sun Lakes Boulevard or Cortez or Sunrise, wherever we think we can get the most effect. But if this place gets a reputation for being a speed trap, I'm okay with that.
Is 20 hours agreeable?
I think that'd be minimum.
Yeah, I agree. And we might want to do more than that initially.
Yeah, I was going to say, if we're going to do it,
Then
I think 20
whatever the
hours
board wants
gets
to
you
do.
very little coverage. I mean, in a month?
Once they start stopping people,
The word will get around, I get it, but
No.
maybe we want to do 10 hours the first week.
I mean, that's not even an
That's
hour.
fine.
That's not even an hour a day for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
20 hours. I mean, think about what you're talking about.
You don't bring them in an hour a day. You bring them in for...
I'm just saying. It's,
right.
3 hours.
Right.
We have to start somewhere. That's what I'm asking.
That's what I'm saying.
All right, I'm asking
I
to
agree
start
with Dan.
somewhere.
We should start bigger. Once you get the message out and people start getting tickets, then maybe we can cut it back.
That's fine. Let's do 40 hours the first month and see what we get. We're only talking $1,800.
Okay, 36 instead of 40. Okay.
36.
36.
36 is
3 hour
fine.
minimum.
That's good.
So that's 12 days.
Okay.
So 36.
I'm good with that. I mean, you could sit out at Sunrise and Sun and Lake and write 100 tickets a day for running that stop sign. I mean, it happens every day, all day.
That would be one of the questions we could ask the sheriff about is, since we're paying for the deputy, can any tickets offset some of that cost?
I don't think they're going to agree to that. Good shot, though.
Yeah, we're not going.
No.
Okay, so as a board, do we have a consensus? We're going to do 36 hours?
Yes.
And
Yes.
we're going to try to do that starting maybe May 1st, if we can.
As quick,
I'll bring back the agreement, the May 10th meeting.
Okay.
Is that okay?
All right.
Agreement for
Good.
services, and then, so hopefully by the end of May.
If we can do it in the interim, sooner they can get out here, the better off.
Okay,
If they can do it tomorrow, then I'm good with that.
okay. So May 1st. Well, are we close to May? Yeah, we had another week, so I'll talk to the sheriff's office this afternoon.
Good, thank you.
Make sure you just state your name, please.
Linda Farnsworth. Didn't the sheriff's department used to come in here and patrol?
they do come in and patrol. They just don't do it enough to be able to make a difference.
Because I've seen them sitting at the corner of Edgewater and Granada on a Sunday morning writing tickets for no stopping at the stop
Yes.
sign.
And they should, but I don't think they necessarily send a radar patrol. Only a few of them have the radar.
So if we get enough people complaining to the sheriff's department, will they automatically do more on their own without
Squeaky wheel
us
gets the
paying
grease.
extra?
That's basically what I was saying. Instead of calling security, you really ought to be calling the sheriff. But in the interim, I think we need to do this.
Thank you.
Yeah, the sheriff has budgetary issues as well with the county, so that's the problem. Is they haven't got enough patrol to do everything in the county.
Is it open comment?
No, not yet.
Forgot to. Poor Bill.
You only get to talk 7 times.
It's only 7 times today.
Okay, any unfinished business?
None.
New business?
None.
Committee reports?
Retirement committee meeting is next Tuesday, 10 a.m.
What is that?
That's comprises of myself and Omar and Supervisor Stiegel. And then a district employee, I'm sorry.
Okay, public comment,
All for Bill, except for Bill.
except for Bill Norcross.
Where all this cement come from? I don't know.
Oh, by the way, he has New Balance shoes on today.
What? All right, take a footprint, right? Unbelievable. Make one mistake, I get no respect. All right, there's a couple of questions here, and a couple of subjects here, and it's what happened to, we went by the timing of shotguns and the tournaments and what time we start at 8 o'clock in the morning and stuff like that. Well, there's a lot of people who like to start at 8:30 because they like to go to the driving range. A lot of people like to start at 8 o'clock in the morning because they don't go to the driving range. So, you got to be fair about it, too. I'm on the board of the MGA, and they discussed, I think, some of the tournaments. I think Mike would probably tell you that some of the times are alternating, either morning at 8:30 or at 1 o'clock, 1:30, whatever it is. But, Cliff's job is not easy because you have 2 shotguns at 8 o'clock. That means possibly 288 people could come into the restaurant. One guy just said, well, look, why don't you have one at 8 o'clock and at 8:30? At least you have a half an hour differential so that people coming off the golf course and lining up for get a drink at the bar, it may be reduced by 2. So anyhow, that idea of going at 8 o'clock for everything, I object. I object because I don't think it's fair that you really like to come in and kibitz with somebody or find out where you are and get going for your tournament. I really don't like playing individual at 8 o'clock. 8:30, fine. Now, when the traffic control out here has been a problem for 15 years since I've been here. Not that I'm speeding, but I'm saying that we can't control the traffic, and I can't understand when I'm paying $3,000 back, that gentleman back there, to the county, and we can't have county protection. We do have protection, but we don't have the speeding ticket writing that these officers should be doing. And why was she paying extra for it? It's not that much. It's $45, not $90. But it's a good idea that we at least try the program for 20 hours a month. And if it doesn't work, but you want to be open for a suggestion. Okay. Why not? Mike Hurley has looked into it years ago about having solar-powered signs out there. They're a speed indicator. Once you go over the speed limit, the lights flash. Somebody comes out of the clouds or something, and the door opens and you get a notification you're speeding. It may slow down a few people. You told me years ago, this is how long ago.
3 minutes.
There's 2 subjects, Dave.
Just keep the time.
I don't care.
We do.
All right, listen,
The solar-powered signs, I think, were paid about $900. They may be a little bit more. But you have several of those out there. You have vacant police cars you could get. You might be able to get some out of a junkyard that just operate, and then people don't know if there's a police officer in their car or not. Just like they have out on 27. It slows them down probably 3 miles an hour, but at least they're aware that it could be a police officer in the car. So, just as a suggestion about using the solar-powered sign limitations. There is any comment about that? Any reason why we can't do that?
I would not support that. I don't think it would be effective.
I think that might be one of the recommendations that the traffic survey that we're trying to get done is, so you're getting the cart ahead of the horses, in essence, what I'm saying.
I got no feeling for it, Bill. I mean, I'm up for trying anything, but I think our problem's a lot bigger than we want to admit at this point.
Well, I think after a few people get their tickets, and they're very expensive. I think going through a school zone is $165. And word gets around really quick. And if they stop a few cars on Sunlight Boulevard and Cortez and Columbus used to be 35 miles an hour. It's 25 now. So what I'm just saying is that once people are aware that they can have a ticket written, maybe it'll at least cut it down by 2%. There's always going to be that other 98%. Thank you.
Any other public comment? It's a race.
Elizabeth Patterson. We
Hold
had
the mic down closer to you, please.
Pardon?
Hold the mic down. Thank you.
Elizabeth Patterson. We just had a problem in our area. I live at Country Club Villas 1 with a water leak. A person had left, and I believe it had been turned off, but I'm not sure. And I found, so now that I know that this happens a lot, I wanted to find, I found out that it's $25 to have it shut off, like if you go on vacation for 10 days. $25 to have it shut off and then $25 to have it turned on. Is there any way that we could, I mean, that's quite a chunk of money just for coming and turning that thing off. And I wanted to know if there was some way we can either, $25 for the on and off rather than each time. That's all. Just put that up for discussion with you guys. Thank you.
Somebody had.
So the fee is $20 on, $20 off. Every homeowner, we highly encourage them. The only reason you shut it off is to prevent, if you're going away for 6 months, you don't want a flood in your house, you don't want anything to break. If at any point in time, you can always shut off the house valve. There's no charge. That prevents any water from going inside the home. So we always recommend find your house valve, find the valve that goes inside the home, and turn that off, and that will protect you in order to not pay the $20.
They have those, don't they, at Country Club Villas?
I would assume so. We could send the guys out there. They can call us, especially if it's only a 10-day visit. There's really no reason why they need to shut it off and turn it back on.
Right.
Okay, additional public comment?
Name's Craig Herrick, and I just want to reiterate about what Dan and Mike have both said about the 8 o'clock shotgun. All the places in this area that I know of have an 8 o'clock and a 1 o'clock shotgun. And the problem we've had in that restaurant has been since last fall. This isn't something that's come about that's new. There's been very little improvement. I have seen nothing go on there that has, except for we finally had a buffet starting, and I believe it was in March. The service there from the waitresses are nothing compared to the local restaurants around here. They spend way too much time not going around checking to see whether people want another drink. When the golfers come in at the noon break, there's no waitresses go over to find out if there's anything that those gentlemen want. Majority of them will not order. I understand that. But there are a lot of bills, a lot of drinks that could be passed if they would just go over and ask if they want something. I think the service there is terrible, and if it continues like that, there's a majority of us are going to start using different restaurants because we're tired of the same thing every single time. And just that's an opinion. Thank you.
If it makes you feel better, the bar service at 5 o'clock is no better than it is at 1 o'clock for the golfers.
Same message. Blue Lagoon.
No, I'd rather not.
The Blue Lagoon. The waitresses run around with iPads. And, I mean, there is no one single waitress that waits on you. If they see something that's glass is empty, somebody's there. And they do it through their iPads. The order goes in, it's done, and they have excellent service. And there's a lot of places that you use iPads for ordering. So it's just, we're way behind the 8 ball in what's going on there. Thank you.
We were going to do iPads, weren't we?
That's the difference.
Good morning, Javita McKinney, resident. I wanted to share this bit of information. I'm sure you probably already know about this department. Department of Economic Opportunity, the DEO. I have received a letter to get some help with completing the repairs in my home, so I just wanted to share that with the district here. I'll leave a copy with time. And also, thank you for bringing up the traffic thing. It is important. I have met a woman when I first moved here who was hit by a car already, so that's already happened. She was on her bike and a truck was speeding and came up on the sidewalk. And this person is still injured. When I met her, she was still going through surgery, so it is important.
Thank you. Thank you. Any additional public comment? You only get 3 tries.
Cliff Wood, resident, Manor Hill. Regarding the marketing program, is there a target date for going live or launching the marketing program?
It's broken up into phases, so the first phase has already been completed. We're in the second phase right now.
What is the second phase?
The second phase, what is it? It's the, not creative work plan, it's the creative development, I believe. It's a program where they're now going to be proposing to us some of the materials that they're going to recommend that we push out, advertisements, basically kind of the graphic design piece of this, if you will. So they took the first phase and they put together the Sun and Lake story, get a good grasp of who we are so that they can help us market Sun and Lake in the best way possible. And then this particular phase is they're going to start proposing the graphics, some of the more tangible pieces that we'll be able to push out into the public.
So that if they're doing creative material, that implies that they've gone through some kind of a segmentation process where they've defined target audiences, geographically, demographically, psychographically. What are those target audiences?
Yeah, that isn't something that we've seen yet or we've been presented.
Why would you
yet.
do creative if you haven't defined your segments?
There was a basic concept of the markets in the work plan, which included the cold states in Canada.
What states, please?
The cold states, where it's cold in
the Midwest.
Yeah.
Canada, it's cold everywhere.
And it was in the work plan that we looked at, I don't know, a month ago. I couldn't tell you exactly what it said off the top of my head, but they have defined some of the key markets too.
There's a geographic segment.
There's a geographic segment, and there's also a segment within Florida, particularly trying to attract the coastal areas to what we have to offer here, which is a much more cost-effective program than the coast.
Mhm. Then what about demographically?
There was a bit of that in there too, where they talked to ideal age. Ideal age of people we might be marketing to.
Age.
I mean, the 30-year-old folks are probably not in the market, that sort of thing.
So what is the age bracket?
I'm thinking it was 50s to.
Yeah, it was like 45 and up,
Yeah,
trying to get some of
45 to
the
60.
pre-retirement to start coming here and keeping the market going. There was definitely a feeling from the target audiences that we looked at that the multi-age demographic was something we wanted to maintain. We don't want to make it a 55-plus community.
Okay, and then what about average disposable income?
That was not something that was looked at.
Cliff, you're welcome to a copy of that if you'd like to go over it. And
copy of what?
The work plan.
The work plan that we have.
Made you a copy.
Oh, I was going to say it's online too. I got
I made
a copy,
you a
a paper copy? Okay.
Okay. I'll look this over, and then maybe I would have comments at another time. The only other thing I'd like to ask is that a critical aspect of the marketing program, I presume, would be to get people here on visits. That would imply putting together some kind of a package. It would also imply that we absolutely have to have some kind of a welcoming function and somebody coordinating those visits so to make sure that they get exposed to a slice of life while they're here. And I'm wondering, have you given any thought, is anybody doing any kind of preliminary effort with regard to defining how we're going to handle visits?
It's been one of the questions that hasn't been addressed in the plan yet.
3 minutes.
Don't you? No.
It will come before the
That's
plan
not
is final.
important?
Of course it's important. That's why it's been one of the questions. We just haven't got the answer yet.
Okay, I'll be looking forward to that. Thank you.
Robert Mogul again. I just have a quick question on the gentleman's, the last subject. Are the builders contributing any funding to support this? I mean, they're the guys that are going to be making a bunch of bucks too.
To support what?
This media for bringing people in. They're building homes out here.
Oh.
They want them to come in as much as we want them to come in.
We have not yet addressed the funding or how that'll go about.
Bill Norcross, a quick happy note. There are about 60 homes being built out here, and the MGA has recognized that, because if all of a sudden we had 60 new members, that would really kind of make a difference as far as tea times and whether you're going to have lunch or not going to have lunch and stuff like that. But they actually, if you have 60 new homes, you probably get 20%, which is about 12 new members. So that's a good thing here that is happening, and I hope that with a proper tea time allocation and the new bar association, a new bar development, and the kitchen development, it will be a complete success. Everybody's hoping that it works out very, very well. And we can, because as I mentioned in different emails, that the venue here at Sunny Lake is extraordinary. You'll have a beautiful view out back. You have a new building, 9 or 10 years old. You'll have ample parking. There's a lot of good benefits here. So I want to wish everybody good luck on the new projects.
Any additional public comment? Okay, board-to-board discussion.
I've got a couple things. Cliff, I have a couple things. Do we have an update on when we're going to actually start the kitchen, that whatever we're doing? Do you know when it's going to begin? People are asking, that's why I'm...
Yeah, and I put it in the newsletter, and I reiterate in the newsletter that'll come out here again, but it's really the first week of June, the outside will start. So I'm not 100% sure about when we're going to start moving equipment out and stop producing food out of the restaurant, but the guys are going to be on site as of
Okay, first week of June.
Week of June, June 3rd.
That's fine. And I also, another thing for you, I understand you're working on, because I got a duplicate set of emails again yesterday on the events.
I'm sending out emails to the database for the membership, and then I'm sending out a separate emails to the database of the residents.
I have to ask you, why wouldn't we send out one information to everybody? If they're not members, maybe we can entice them to becoming members. I'm getting the same thing twice. I don't know, you guys getting it, or is it just me?
There's a different database for residents than there is for members.
I mean, I can certainly do that. I've just... I mean, I can certainly do that.
One, don't you think one's a good one instead of two?
Two's twice as good as one.
Huh?
Two's twice as good as one.
I don't know. I'd like you to look at it. I'm sure there's some other people in my situation who get two of them and can't figure out why.
I guess I thought...
Your name is on the resident database, and your name is in the member database. So when he sent out a newsletter to each database, when the third party, that's why you received the two.
That, but if I'm
I guess I'm thinking
let me ask you this one: if I'm the only one that's getting it on the board,
You're not.
oh, you are getting it.
Yeah.
Oh, so we all are getting it, correct?
Yes.
I don't know which one you're talking
Duplicate emails.
All right, obvious. Let's go on to another one. The last meeting, we talked a lot about Casper, and according to my notes, I don't think we decided anything. So I'd like to ask the board if we have any interest in, one, meeting with Casper, and secondly, renegotiating or looking at their contract to possibly renegotiate it. Because I don't believe we decided anything last time.
Again, as I said earlier, I think what we decided the last time was that we were going to have Cliff bring back an operations plan.
That's not what I'm asking.
I understand, but that was going to be the decision as to whether we needed to go further with Casper.
All right, let me try it this way. Is everybody happy with their contract? Anybody interested in There were 3 out of 5 of us who said they were open to possibly looking at their contract to possibly include a clause that would say an incentive clause. Do we still feel that way, or do we not want to do that? I mean, I'm just trying to get a handle on what we want to do.
My comment was that I would be willing to discuss an incentive piece to the contract if it were properly done and made sense. The last one didn't, in my mind. That's not something that's at the top of my list of things to do. So doing it this year is not a priority for me. I think the contract we have works, essentially. And I still think the biggest problem we have is we don't communicate well enough all the time with the Casper people. And they don't react quickly enough in a lot of cases to what we do communicate. So, to me, those are the things we need to work on, whether we do that in a formal meeting or whether we just continue to communicate. That's up to the rest of the board.
Yeah, I would concur. I don't see a need to necessarily address the contract right now, and I think until we can get to the point where we're giving clear messages to Casper of what we want, and that part of that is that we want higher level of member service and currently we're prioritizing that above a break even. I don't think an incentive clause is going to be that helpful.
So you're a no. Joe's a no. Dan?
I don't think I want to muddy the water right now. We got a huge kitchen project going on, and an expansion of the restaurant, and we already have what are obviously some service issues. So I think muddying the water right now would be a mistake. I'm not opposed to, I kind of agree with Joe. I think we're not doing a good job of communicating with Casper, and I think as we improve that, and if we are then unhappy, then yes, I think absolutely we should. But at this point in time, I think we're just muddying the water when we got too much going on. So okay. I agree with the concept, but not the timing.
Mike?
Yeah, I said even before I'd look at it, but I don't want anything like we had before, and I think you agree with that, I think. But it's not we need to solve a lot of the other problems first and making sure they're doing what the majority of this board wants. And we haven't done a good job of that. But
Okay, so we won't, I guess then at this point we won't pursue Casper. That's fine. I just wanted to, I mean, I personally, obviously, I don't agree because I'm the one that brought it up. I mean, I think they're getting away with murder. I think we're at fault because we're not telling them what to do. I mean, I think asking this gentleman over here to tell us what he wants as opposed to us telling him what we want, I don't get it. Now, he's going to tell you he's going to have shotguns at 8:30. What are you going to do? You're going to tell him you want it at 8.
He's smarter than that.
He's smarter than that?
I think what we're asking Cliff to do...
We're going to tell him it's 8 o'clock.
Well, that's what I'm saying, and I agree with it. You know what? And it probably should be 8, but that's my point. My point is, why can't we tell him what we want?
I think my belief, and Cliff, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think my belief is that Cliff is trying to interpret what we tell him in the operations plan, and if we don't agree with that interpretation, that's where we need to make the corrections.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree. Why don't you have a workshop?
Well, we're having a budget presentation next week where we'll be looking at the operation and the priorities, and I think that's when we'll be having that discussion. May 10th. May 10th.
That's all I have.
I have nothing more.
I had 2 or 3 things. One, I hate those yellow posts you put out there. It looks like we're creating Sun and Lake Stalag. If we're going to spend the money to put new roofs on those cart sheds, and then we're going to spend the money to paint them, and then we're going to spend the money to fix the doors to them, why in the heck would we rope them off so nobody can get to them? I understand we got a traffic issue. So if that's the issue, why didn't we tear the darn things down to begin with? My point is we've wasted 40, 50 grand if that's the way we're going to do it. It makes no sense. Beyond that, it looks horrible. This is supposed, we're trying to elevate the image of Sun and Lake, and we're trashing it.
Okay, well, let me tell you why it was done.
I don't care why it was done. I'm just telling you.
I gotta tell you, right? It was done from the board before you wanted those up.
What board?
The board people before you got on the board, that was request, and they went.
I've been on here a year and a half. You're talking it was 2 years ago.
Okay.
Why would you?
We didn't do
anything to get around to doing it.
We didn't do any. No, we didn't do anything because we were repairing it. But there was requests that the traffic people were driving in and out, and it was dangerous, and they didn't want people inside there, Dan.
Well, then why did we?
I'm not saying I love it or I like it at all, but I'm just telling you the request, and that's the request we had.
Can I chime in here for a second?
Yes, Joe.
Couple things. To me, the incentive to stop using those cart sheds was to take that traffic pattern out of the golf course. The reason we kept the buildings, and there were a lot of discussions, and I think you were here, Dan.
No, I wasn't. I was in Alaska. Or I would
okay, that could very well be. But the potential to sell the other cart barn site down the road to a developer, which I didn't necessarily buy into this, but the consensus was that may sell. It's a very viable piece of ground to develop, in which case we would need these cart barns, and that's why we didn't tear them down, and we weren't going to let them stand without fixing them up. The barriers, I didn't specifically ask for those barriers. I just basically was pushing Andy and Cliff to keep cars out of there, because on Tuesday night when that league came in, there were 10 pickup trucks driving up there and parking, and then playing golf and filling their coolers in the cart shed and doing whatever else they did. And I just wanted to stop that. I thought what they did was obviously effective. It was more than I was asking for.
I think a no parking sign might have done it.
I don't disagree.
One thing too, and Dan, you were on vacation when this happened, but I was for tearing them down, and all of a sudden we found out, which I was really upset about, that we used 12 or 15 of them for carts that the board knew nothing about, that are rented during the winter, which we probably need them, but I can tell you I've been on the board almost 4 years, and I had no idea that was going on. And they also use it for storage, I think. That's why I voted to keep them, is because, I couldn't believe what was going on without my knowledge anyway, with those cart barns.
We got a huge maintenance facility with a big storage area up on the second floor, and we bought a $40,000 forklift to put stuff up there. I don't buy storage. We got storage, but be that as it may, that issue's gone. Beyond that, though, we kind of shot ourselves in the foot, because there's no more need for cart barns, or not much need for cart barns, because you can use one of Sun and Lake's carts cheaper than you can rent one of the cart barns. So our pricing is irrational at best. So I don't know. We do whatever. I don't care what you do with the cart barns, but I don't like those yellow posts with chains on them. That's just not the image that I think we should have. Do whatever you want to do. I'm just saying, I don't like it. Whatever. To me, that looks almost as bad as the on-course restrooms with the pipes running through the darn things. Are we ever going to get those redone to where they look reasonable? Is that going to be in the budget for next year?
Yeah, we're planning on doing it over the summer.
Okay, good. Because enough said. Whatever. We really want to be a first-class facility. We don't need to do third-class stuff.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Right, and we are going to be doing a lot of work in-house on those cars this year. We are, Cliff and I have talked about doing some work inside. These cart barns were built before any of us, and all the plumbing and everything was put in before, and I don't know why they did it either. I hate it, and I'm with you. But Cliff and I have taken a ride out there, and we are going to do one at a time in-house and try to save some money.
I just think it ought to be in the budget.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Before we come in May, that ought to be part of it.
All right.
I'm done.
I don't have anything.
Any additional comments from the board?
I don't relish making a pest of myself, but in reading Tanya's cover letter on the work plan, it says there are these 3 phases. Phase 2 is creative development, and then phase 3 is defining the marketing strategy. 3 phases were defined, and we're in phase 2, creative development, and then after we've gone through this expensive part of the program, the creative design, then we're going to define our marketing strategy. The process is backwards. You guys spent 5 or 10 times more time talking about bocce ball courts and shuffleboard courts than you spent on marketing. And I would ask you, what's more important to our future than solving our golf membership problem? The first thing that has to be done is to define the marketing strategy based on define segments. What's a segment? Something, a group of people that have similar unmet needs is big enough to make a difference, and you have to have a way of reaching those people with an effective message, and go through the selling process of getting them here and becoming a resident. So I would just implore you, let's get busy to define what our marketing strategy is, and then spend money on creating the materials that you need to reach those people effectively. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.